If you're a coach or consultant trying to stay consistent on LinkedIn, you've probably experienced this. You sit down to create the content and then your mind just goes blank. And you've already talked about your core topics, so you don't want to repeat yourself, and then you're spending hours every week trying to come up with new ideas and it just feels a bit exhausting. So here's the truth, you don't actually need more ideas, but what you do need is a better system for using the ideas that you already have. The most successful people on LinkedIn aren't necessarily creating brand new content every single day. In many cases, they're repurposing the same core ideas, but in different formats and from different angles and for different purposes. And that's how they end up staying consistent without burning out. So throughout the course of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to turn one idea into 10 LinkedIn posts or even more. So I'm going to walk you through some tactical content repurposing frameworks that will save you hours every single week while still keeping your content fresh, valuable, and engaging. And it's the same repurposing system that I've used to build a presence on LinkedIn with over 55,000 followers while generating more than 10 million impressions in the last year alone. And the same frameworks that we use for our clients to help them to stay consistent on LinkedIn without the content creation grind. So by the end of this video, you'll have a clear system for repurposing content and a plan for creating weeks of posts from just one single idea. And you can see here on my profile, the 55,000 followers and the 10 million impressions that were driven just in the last year alone. So with all of that said, let's dive right in, starting with the core problem, which is really based around the fact that right now you're probably reinventing the wheel every single time you create content. So you're sitting down to write that post and you think, well, what should I even talk about today? And you start brainstorming a new idea, you write the post, you publish it, and then move on. And then the next time you need to create content, you start from scratch again. And here's really why that's a problem. Pretty much because you're wasting time and energy. You're treating every single post like a brand new creation, when in reality, you probably have 5 to 10 core ideas that really your audience needs to hear over and over and over again, but just in different ways. But instead of repurposing those ideas, you're constantly searching for new ones. And that's why content creation feels so hard. Now, the second part of the problem is that most people think repurposing basically means copying and pasting the same post. So they think, if I've already talked about this topic, I can't talk about it again. But that's not how repurposing actually works. Repurposing means taking one core idea and presenting it in different formats from different angles with different examples. So your audience isn't seeing this exactly every single post that you publish. And even if they are, they need to hear the core messages multiple times before it even sinks in. So here's really the truth with all of this. The best content creators on LinkedIn, they do have a repurposing system. So they identify the core ideas and then they systematically turn each idea into multiple pieces of content. And that's how they actually stay consistent. They end up saving time and they keep their messaging clear. So you might be thinking, well, how do I build you yourself, right? This content repurposing system, what is the framework for that? And that's exactly what we're going to break down in the next 3 steps here. So let's dive into the first step, which is really to identify your core content pillars. And here's really what I mean when I say that. You need to think about what are the 5 to 7 core ideas that you want to be known for. These are the topics that you'll talk about over and over again, but in different ways. And really, they're the foundation behind your content strategy. Now, most people skip this step. They basically post about whatever just comes to their mind. And then as a result, the content ends up being a bit all over the place. But when you have clear content pillars, what that gives you is focus, because you know exactly what to talk about, and then you can systematically repurpose those ideas. So now you might be thinking, well, how do you actually identify those content pillars? And you ask yourself really 3 main questions. The first question is, what are the biggest pain points that my ideal client is experiencing? These become your problem focus pillars. So for example, if you help consultants, their pain points might be cold outreach or burnout or inconsistent lead flow or low close rates. Now, the second question to ask yourself are, what are the core solutions or frameworks that I actually teach? Because these become your solution focus pillars. So for example, in my case, it might be LinkedIn authority building or organic lead generation or positioning strategy. Now, the third question to ask yourself is, what mindset shifts or beliefs do my ideal clients need to adopt or adapt to, right? Because these become your perspective focus pillars. So for example, in my case, it could be quality beats quantity, or authority beats ads, or organic beats outbound. Now, when you answer these 3 questions, you'll have 5 to 7 content pillars. So I'll give you an example in my particular case. The content pillars for a LinkedIn consultant could be pillar number 1, LinkedIn profile optimization as a solution. Pillar number 2 could be organic lead generation as a solution. Pillar number 3 could be content strategy as a solution. Pillar number 4 could be cold outreach burnout, which is a pain point. Pillar number 5 could be quality beats quantity, which is more of a mindset. Pillar number 6 could be authority beats ads, which is again mindset. And pillar number 7 could be positioning strategy, which is then a solution. So you can see how through this breakdown, every bit of content that I would create or you would create would then fall into one of these 7 pillars. And because you're rotating between them, your content stays varied and focused at the same time. So here's a tactical exercise for you. I want you to write down 5 to 7 content pillars. And these are going to be the topics that you're going to talk about over the course of the next year. And once you have them, you'll be ready to start repurposing. So now the second step here is to use the 1 to 10 repurposing framework. So once you've identified your content pillars, you need a system for actually turning each pillar into multiple posts. And the way that you're going to do that is by using different formats and angles. So here's the framework. For every core idea, you create 10 different posts using 10 different approaches. So let me walk you through them. Post number 1, this is where you teach a specific tactic or a step-by-step process. So an example in my case could be, here's how to optimize your LinkedIn headline in 5 minutes. Start with I help niche and the specific outcome you deliver, and then include the differentiator. So a full example could be, I help B2B consultants generate 50K per month from LinkedIn without cold outreach, right? Now, post number 2 could be the contrarian take. So this is where you challenge a common belief related to your pillar. So for example, in this case, it could be, everyone says that you need to post on LinkedIn every day. I disagree. I built 55,000 followers by starting off posting 3 times per week. Quality beats quantity every time. Now, post number 3 is the case study. So this is where you share a client story or a transformation related to your pillar. So for example, in this case, it could be a client came to me 6 months ago posting every day on LinkedIn, but getting 0 leads. We had to cut his posting frequency to 3 times per week and focused on strategic content. Within 30 days, he had 4,000 new followers and multiple inbound direct messages every single week. Now, post number 4 is the mistake post. So this is where you share a common mistake people make related to your pillar. So an example could be, the biggest mistake I see on LinkedIn is generic headlines. If your headline says consultant or coach, you're invisible. Your headline should communicate who you serve and what outcome you deliver, right? Now, post number 5 is the myth busting post. So this is where you debunk a myth or a misconception related to your pillar. So an example here could be, myth, you need a massive network to succeed on LinkedIn. Truth, I've seen people with 500 highly targeted connections generate more leads than people with 10,000 random connections. Quality beats quantity, right? Now, post number 6 is the framework post. So this is where you break down a process into a simple, memorable framework. So an example here could be the 3 posts per week formula. Monday, tactical, teach something actionable. Wednesday, proof, share a case study or result. Friday, mindset, share a perspective or belief. That's it. Simple, sustainable, and effective. And then post number 7 could be the question post. This is where you ask a thought-provoking question related to your pillar. So for example, quick question, would you rather have 10,000 followers and 0 clients or 500 followers and a full calendar? Most people are chasing the wrong metric, right? Now, post number 8, we're still getting there. Keep flowing with me. This is where you share a list of tips, tools, or insights related to your pillar. So for example, 5 LinkedIn profile mistakes that repel clients. 1, generic headline. 2, no clear niche. 3, credential focused about section. 4, empty featured section. 5, no call to action. Fix these and watch your profile views convert into leads. Post number 9. This is where you share your own experience or a lesson learned related to your pillar. So an example here could be, I used to post on LinkedIn every single day. I burned out after 3 months and my content quality dropped. My engagement decreased and I was miserable. That's when I learned the most important lesson. Consistency doesn't mean daily, it means sustainable, right? And then post number 10 is the comparison post. So this is where you compare 2 approaches related to your pillar. So for example, posting every day versus posting 3 times per week. Every day, high volume, low quality burnout. 3 times per week, high quality, sustainable, and better engagement. I'll take quality over quantity every single time. That's the 1 to 10 repurposing framework, right? So you take one core idea like quality beats quantity, and then you create 10 different posts using these 10 different formats. And here's the key. Each post feels fresh and different, even though they're all communicating the same core message. So here's your tactical exercise. I want you to pick one of your content pillars and then use the 1 to 10 framework to create 10 different post types. You now have over 3 weeks of content from one single idea. Now, step number 3 here is to create a content bank. Because once you've used the 1 to 10 framework to generate multiple posts from each pillar, you now need a system for organizing and scheduling them. And the way that you do this is basically by batch creating content and then building a content bank. So here's how it actually works. Instead of creating content every single day, you set aside 1 to 2 hours each week to batch create. You then pick one content pillar, use the 1 to 10 framework to generate 10 posts, and then save them in your content bank, a simple document or spreadsheet where you store all of your pre-written posts. Then when it's time to post, you don't have to create anything from scratch. You can just pull a post from your content bank, make the necessary tweaks, and then publish it. And this will save you hours every single week, and it eliminates the stress of coming up with new ideas on the fly. So here's the tactical framework for building out your own content bank. Step number 1 is to set aside 1 hour to 2 hours each week for batch creation. This is your content creation time, so block it on the calendar and protect it. The second step is to pick one content pillar. Don't try to create content for all of your pillars at once. Focus on one pillar per session. Step number 3 is to use the 1 to 10 framework, right? So generate 10 posts using the 10 different formats that I gave you. Step number 4 is to save them in your content bank. So you can just use a simple Google Doc or a Notion page or a spreadsheet and then organize your posts by pillar and format. Step number 5 is to schedule your posts. So pull 3 posts each week from your content bank and then schedule them in advance. So you can use LinkedIn's native scheduling feature or a tool like Buffer or Hootsuite. And then here's what this ends up looking like in practice. Let's say you've got 7 content pillars. You'll spend 1 week creating 10 posts for pillar number 1 using the 1 to 10 framework. Then that's 10 posts for your content bank. The next week you create 10 posts for pillar 2 and then so on. So by the end of the 7 weeks, you'll have 70 posts in your content bank. That's over 23 weeks of content, nearly 6 months, without ever having to come up with a new idea from scratch. Now here's the key. Once you've created content for all of your pillars, you can then start the cycle again. You can go back to pillar 1 and create 10 new posts using different examples, different stories, or different angles. So your content bank becomes basically a perpetual system. Now here's the tactical thing for you. I want you to stop creating content on the fly. Now try and batch create, right? Build a content bank and then schedule in advance. And this is how you'll stay consistent without burning out. So when we piece all of this together, the first step is really to identify your core content pillars, to define your 5 to 7 core ideas that you're going to talk about repeatedly. These are your pain points, your solutions, and your mindset shifts. Step number 2 is to use the 1 to 10 repurposing framework. For each pillar, create 10 different posts using 10 different formats, tactical how-tos, contrarian takes, case studies, mistake posts, myth-busting posts, frameworks, questions, lists, personal stories, and a comparison post, right? The third step is then to create a content bank. So batch create your posts, save them in your content bank, and then schedule them in advance. And here's what that again looks like in practice. Let's say you're a consultant who helps financial advisors. Your content pillars could be 1, LinkedIn profile optimization, 2, organic lead gen, 3, cold calling burnout, 4, authority beats ads, and then 5, quality beats quantity. So you'd start with pillar 1, which in this case would be LinkedIn profile optimization, and then you use the 1 to 10 framework to create 10 posts. So post 1 would be a tactical how-to on optimizing your headline. Post 2 would be your contrarian take, challenging the belief that credentials matter more than outcomes. Post number 3 would be your case study of a financial advisor who optimized their profile and got 10 inbound leads in 30 days. Post number 4 would be your mistake post about generic headlines. Post number 5 would be your myth-busting post about needing a massive network. Post number 6 would be your framework post on the 3-section profile optimization formula. Post number 7 would be a question post asking if your profile converts visitors into leads. Post number 8 would be a list post of 5 profile mistakes. Post number 9 would be a personal story about how you optimize your own profile. And post number 10 would be a comparison post between credential focused versus outcome focused profiles. So then you'd save all 10 of these posts in your content bank, you'd schedule 3 posts per week, and then that's over 3 weeks of content from one single pillar. The next week you move to pillar 2 and repeat the process. So by the end of 5 weeks, you'd have 50 posts in your content bank, which is over 16 weeks of content. And that's the content repurposing framework, right? You're not reinventing the wheel every time you create content. You're systematically repurposing your core ideas, but in different ways. And that's how you stay consistent without burning out. And once you do that, you're going to find content creation will become easier because you're no longer staring at a blank screen, wondering what to write about. You've got a clear system. Pick a pillar, use the framework, and create, and that decision fatigue will disappear. The other thing is that you'll stay consistent without burning out. Because you're batch creating the content and building a content bank, you're not going to be scrambling to create content every single day. You can actually take a week off, go on vacation, focus on client work, and your content will keep publishing. And so the consistency actually becomes sustainable. Third, you'll find that your messaging actually becomes clearer because you're repeatedly talking about your core pillars. Your audience will start to associate you with those ideas. And so you become known for your expertise. And that's when your authority grows and your ideal clients will start reaching out. And this is the exact same content repurposing system that I've used to build a presence of over 55,000 followers on LinkedIn while generating more than 10 million impressions in the last year. And the same framework that we've leveraged for our clients to drive over 100 million impressions on the platform. And we've got a number of different examples of clients gaining over thousands and thousands of followers within the first 30 days while attracting high quality inbound leads. So we've got clear proof that this framework does work as long as you commit to it. And you can see an example here of one of our client pages, over 70 million impressions in the last year and the 4,000 followers gained in the last 30 days. So if you do want to accelerate your results by having a system that actually handles your content strategy, the content creation, your posting, and your engagement in a way that truly builds authority and attracts premium clients, what you will need is a full LinkedIn media engine, really a done-for-you system that repurposes your expertise into high-value content and then keeps you consistently visible. The same approach that I mentioned that we leverage here internally. So if you do want a full breakdown of how that LinkedIn media engine works, including the content strategy, the repurposing systems, and the strategic engagement, drop a comment below with the word repurpose, and I'll get those details sent over to you. Even if you do just implement what we've covered in this video, you will save hours each week and stay consistent. But if you do want to move much faster, accelerate your journey, and know much more about this LinkedIn media engine, comment the word repurpose below, and then we'll get that free breakdown sent over to you. I do hope you found this video helpful, useful, and valuable. I enjoyed recording it, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.